Hello, my dears. How are you doing? Well, I hope you're staying warm and unflooded. Seems like we're been going through either extreme cold or flooding or ice. The weather's been pretty crazy this month. Well, Grandma wants to tell you another story. And what I'm going to do today, it's called Two Hearts as One. It's the story continued of Snow White. Snow White kissed her husband, the prince. "I'll be back soon," she said. "I will miss you," said the prince as he waved goodbye. Snow White sang happily as she headed into the woods. Soon she and the prince would celebrate their first wedding anniversary. Snow White could hardly believe it. See, her friends are still there, watching out for her. "Hello, hello," she called out to the seven dwarfs as they ran from their cottage to greet her. Even Grumpy couldn't hide his delight. "I have a special favor to ask of you," said Snow White. "The prince and I will be celebrating our first anniversary with a royal ball. I would like to make him dinner, but no one at the palace will let me cook." "They don't know what they're missing," Grumpy said. Snow White smiled. "So I wondered if I could make dinner for him here, and I wanted to give him a special gift, something he could add to his family shield." See, Snow White was used to cooking for the seven dwarfs before she got married to the prince. And in the prince's castle, they wouldn't let her cook because she was royalty and figured princes shouldn't cook. Okay, so she wants to get a special gift for her husband. "Like a diamond?" asked Doc. "Don't you worry, Snow White. I'll take care of it myself. Take care of it myself." "Oh, thank you," she said. "We'll meet here tomorrow evening." After Snow White left, Grumpy turned to Doc. "So you didn't think the rest of us can find a diamond good enough for Snow White? Well, we'll see about that." Grumpy stomped off. All night he planned which part of the mine he would search to find the perfect diamond to give to Snow White. He planned for so long that the next morning he overslept. The other dwarfs were gone when he woke up. Have you ever stayed awake in the night thinking about things, and then you finally fall asleep, and then you're so tired in the morning you have trouble getting up? "Dag nabbit," said Grumpy. He rushed out the door and ran right into the prince. "Well, hello, Grumpy," the prince said with a bow. "I'm glad to find you at home. I have a favor to ask of you." Well, I guess that was perfect timing, huh? The other dwarfs had already left. "Grumpy, I love Snow White so much that I want to give her the most precious gift I can find to celebrate our anniversary. I am having a crown made for her, and I would like to find the most beautiful diamond I can to set into the center of it." Grumpy puffed up his chest. "I'll find the most beautiful, most sparkling, most dazzling diamond in the whole mine." They agreed to meet later that evening. So Grumpy is going to look for the best diamond he can for the prince. And Doc is looking for the best diamond for Snow White. Deep in the mine, Dark found his perfect diamond. Even in the dim light of the mine, the diamond sparkled and winked. He hurried off to find the other dwarfs and a pickaxe to dig out the precious gem. Do you see it there in the picture? See how sparkly and shiny it is? Grumpy also rushed into the deepest part of the mine. He turned a corner and found the exact same diamond Doc had found. Grumpy didn't want to smudge it by touching it. He hurried off to find a soft rag to help him as he dug out the diamond. See, they're both hurrying off in different directions. They didn't know that each other found the same diamond. Dopey whistled a little tune to himself. He too had wandered the mine alone, looking for the perfect diamond for Snow White. And there it was, the same diamond Doc and Grumpy had chosen. Carefully, he dislodged the diamond with his pickaxe, and then he began to chisel away at it. Doc, Grumpy, and the other dwarfs hurried back to the perfect diamond. When they got there, they saw Dopey chipping away at it. "Dopey!" they shouted as they waved their hands. Dopey looked up. He was surprised. His hammer slipped and hit the diamond. It broke into 2 pieces. Oh dear, the diamond broke. Far above them at the main entrance, the end of the day whistle blew. "It can't be that late already," said Doc. "What will we do? Snow White will be waiting for us when we get home." "So will the prince," said Grumpy. Doc sighed. "We'll just have to explain." Grumpy and Doc put their separate halves of the diamond in 2 different bags. Dopey found some flowering vines to tie the bags shut. So they were each bringing their piece of the diamond that they had promised to find for Snow White and the prince. At the dwarf's cottage, Snow White had just set the table for 2. The prince brought flowers and kissed her on the cheek. Then they sat down for supper. The prince enjoyed every bite. Still, the prince wondered what was keeping the 7 dwarfs. The prince couldn't wait to give Snow White her diamond. And they were having a special meal, just the 2 of them. Snow White and the prince were just finishing their pie when the dwarfs returned. Snow White smiled at Doc. The prince smiled at Grumpy. Doc carefully set his bag in front of Snow White, while Grumpy gave his to the prince. Snow White and the prince looked at each other in surprise. "This is the other part of my present," said Snow White. The prince picked up his bag. "We must think alike," he said. "This is my present for you." There they are, each giving the other their gift. "This is for you, my love," said the prince. He handed Snow White the bag and waited as she opened it. His eyes widened when he saw the broken diamond. Grumpy crumpled his cap and looked down at his shoes. "Oh, darling," Snow White said to the prince as she helped pick up the broken diamond. "How unusual." "Yes," said the prince, disappointed. "Unusual." "And I have something for your shield," Snow White beamed as she handed the prince her bag. The prince carefully let the diamond drop into his hand. Then he squeezed Snow White's hand. "It's beautiful, my dear, because it is from you." So they each got a broken diamond, but they were very happy with it because it came from their love. Dopey came over to the table and pointed to Snow White's diamond and the prince's diamond. Yes, they are beautiful, Dopey, said Snow White. She patted his arm. Dopey shook his head and pointed to each of the pieces again. I don't think Dopey can talk. I'm sorry, said the prince. I don't understand, Dopey. As the prince and Snow White watched, Dopey joined the two separate pieces into one perfect heart. Do you see what those two broken pieces made? It was the shape of a perfect heart. The next night at the anniversary ball, Snow White did not wear her new crown. The prince did not display his family shield, but as their two hearts danced, one heart sparkled with their love and happiness. There's the diamond joined together as a sign of their love for each other and the happiness that they shared because they loved one another. Well, I hope you liked that story. I had never heard the second part of the Snow White story. Anyway, I hope you remember that Grandma loves you, and I'll come back and tell you some more later. Bye.